and gentlemen, what's going on? Alright, so basically today what I want to do is go through and continue the GTK drawing area tutorial series, a little mini series actually within the entire GTK drawing, or not GTK drawing, but GTK series. Last time we went through and covered how to kind of just embed certain windows that allowed you to kind of call their window ID and embed those windows into the drawing area. So in the previous instance, that was in player, and obviously that did not really cover much of anything in terms of actually using the GTK drawing area widget. So today we're going to actually go through and do some more serious drawing area widget stuff. Now let's do a quick little talk about I guess the drawing area first and foremost here. So the more modern way of approaching this actually now is to use a library that interacts with the drawing widget, and that's called Cairo. And so Cairo does all the things like of actually interacting with it actually kind of does all the drawing actual actions and actually has the drawing states of information, whether it be your brush or whether it be layers or whether it be masks or whatever. So you really are interfacing, when you're interacting with drawing area, you're interfacing more with Cairo than you are with necessarily the drawing area widget. You do still have events set up on the widget, but when you interact with those events, you tend to interact with actually Cairo itself in those events. So that's kind of probably all confusing or not even very clear on what actually that all means, and that's okay. We're going to get into it. But really what we need to do probably for this video is actually just kind of a quick setup as well as some just imports. We may get some generic methods in place that will do some lifting that we are going to need done, but we may not actually do necessarily any drawing. Okay, so first and foremost, we're going to go through and of course open up Glade, because Glade is our interface, and we're going to go through and spiff it up for what we're going to do. I've already got preliminary template. I used the previous video's template when we were doing the in-player stuff. I've kept the the button bar and all that, but I've added some buttons and whatnot. Okay, so we're actually going to go through and add 3 more effectively buttons slash interfaces, I guess. So I'm just gonna go ahead and click on this 3 times here, and we're gonna go through and add them here. So here's a kind of quick rundown of what we're going to be doing here. For this very basic example, I'm going to be using a kind of quasi state machine effectively. So what that means is basically we're going to set the state of the program to do something when we choose a particular state, or when we are in a certain process that setup, right? And this isn't really going to be a very advanced kind of thing. It's really what we're going to do is effectively set up like a flag, and that flag will dictate what kind of state we're in and what we're going to be doing when an event fires. Okay, so what I've done here is I've added 3 buttons, and that's line, circle, square. And so when we click on those buttons, we're going to effectively set the drawing state to those button types. Okay, and again, that may not be clear to you all, but you'll get to see it as we kind of go through and do what we do here. But we also want to go through and control some additional things with our program here. So for instance, we're going to probably want to set the color. So we'll go ahead and actually just do just that. I'm going to go through control here and scroll here to color button, and I'm just going to add that in. We're going to also want to go through and control the brush size, and so I'm going to get a GTK spin button. Don't worry that if you don't know what that is just yet. And I'm also just going to additionally add another state here that we want to have, which is the erase state, and I'm going to entitle that erase. So oh my god, I cannot type. Erase, capital E, and just Control S to save that. Okay, so 4 of these buttons are going to be actually firing effectively a signal saying set state, or set draw state. Okay, so I'm just going to go through here and do just that. I'm going to go and for the signals here, and by the way, I have a reference to a whole lot of what I've done. I've got like a preliminary thing that I've set up, because it is just not, I had difficulties actually trying to figure out what was going on, so I was kind of like, okay, I'm just going to kind of go through and create a simple version of this. We'll do what we can do here, and that didn't do what I wanted it to here. I'm going to Control C that. Please make sure I can copy that over properly. And so basically what I'm doing is on the clicked event, I'm setting up a method to call that's called setDrawType. We could also call it setDrawState. I just in my example thing that I created, I called it type, so I'm just going to go with that because my code also references it, and I just don't want to have to. I don't want to put any more mental power than I've already put into this tutorial, because this one was a doozy for me to try to figure out and actually understand, which is ironic because I had it working at one point, and I had a very basic application at one point that did effectively what we're doing here, except for I felt far more comfortable then than I do now, and so I'm just like, okay, well, okay, so it is what it is. Okay, so basically the line, circle, square, and erase states are going to be setting up our drawing state, okay? And really what this kind of means, honestly, is we're going to set up the context of our interaction. So you'll see in plenty of examples that are not, for instance, GTK related, where you've got effectively a canvas, and then the canvas has like context method or object, right? And that context object has reference to basically like the color, the brush size, transparency. I mean, just it has all the context information. I personally like to call it the brush because just to me it seems clearer to understand what's actually going on, because it's the brush that's doing all the things in a sense. It's not necessarily correct because the brush implies, really simply put, like the color and the size, whereas context has a lot more additional information. For the purpose of this example and tutorial, we're just going to call it brush when we actually reference the context. And I know that's not exactly correct, but for simplicity's sake, again, we're just going to reference it as brush instead of context. So, okay, but we set up the states here for line, color, square, and erase. So we're setting up the draw type to be one of those four, okay? Now we need to go through and, of course, have maybe like a method for the color set. Right? So we'll go through and basically say on color set for this. And really it's going to be basically when we set the color, we're going to call a method called on color set. Okay? So literally for here where it says color set, we're just going to type out on color set. And I literally, by the way, just copied and pasted it from my example because I don't really want to have to type it all out. The other thing here is, of course, now we have the brush, right? And the brush is going to be set by this spin button, okay? So the spin button here, we're not really going to actually directly interact with the spin button widget. We're going to actually be interacting with what is like a adjustment properties. I don't know if it's a widget exactly, but like it's the properties object. So we're going to go through and where it says adjustment here on this right corner, we're going to click on the little pencil edit, and we're just going to click on new, okay? And then from there, we're just going to say this is the brush properties. So, or brush size prop. I'm going to just say brush size prop, okay? For the ID. And then what we're going to say is for the default value, we're going to make that 12, okay? We're going to make a minimum value. At minimum, it's got to be 1. Because we don't want, we can't have a 0-sized brush, or I mean we could, but it doesn't make contextual sense to do so. So we're just going to make it, I'm sorry, not minimum. Oh my gosh, I'm derping all over the place here. Oh wait, I'm trying to set the maximum value, and I already set the minimum value. I'm sorry. The minimum value we want to set to 1. Maximum, I'm just going to say to be 1,000. There's no actual rhyme or reason to it. I just decided to do 1,000. So. The rest of it we're just going to leave as is, okay? Okay, but then obviously we need to set up a signal for this actual properties object effectively. And so when we say value changed, we want to say effectively like on value change, right? Or on brush size change. So I'm just going to go through and honestly, I'm just going to reference my thing again here. Brush size change. Okay, so I'm just gonna call it then on brush size change. Okay, and I really kind of believe that we have additional signals we need to set up, but we're gonna set up these initial ones here within the class here that we've created. And that shrinks here, so I can finally get to it. It takes a little moment. I'm going to go through and go ahead and open in our example here. Got to go draw. And okay. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go through, oh, and we really, I guess, should talk about the file here that we have. So I'm pretty much using a core of the template that we did previous tutorial. So, you know, I've only cleared up the methods. So like window connect delete event, I've set that to GTK main quit because we're not using or closing in player, but everything else pretty much is there. Except for cleaned up with some of the properties that we don't really need or reference. So that's okay. Okay, so now we of course need to go through and do a method here for, this one is going to be the brush size change. And so we're just going to do that. We're going to go through and copy effectively this. I'm just going to copy like so, because we're going to have, you know, the method calls for each of these. So there's the brush size change, but then we also need the set draw type to be whatever it is. So I'm going to copy that. And it's going to, I don't know what's going on with Glade, but it's acting up where it's like taking forever to want to go through and do stuff. So, okay, fine Glade. Thank you. So set draw TYP. That makes me antsy, so I'm going to double check to make sure that Glade is showing. Yeah, okay, it is. So we set the draw size, and we also need to do the color. So on color set. And I keep on forgetting that right click is going to make things a little slow. That's okay. Non-color set. We'll just go through and set the color also here. So, okay. So we have set draw type, we have color set, and we do on brush size change. Okay, and what we're going to do is actually we're going to need to do some preliminary like properties here. So I'm probably just going to copy this one as just the thing here, and we're going to say brush size value. We're going to say draw state. We're going to say to false, and we'll say I'm going to double check my code honestly here because I do have reference to that. Again, I have a project that's pretty much set up for this. Draw state. Okay, we'll just literally say draw state. Or no, it is draw. I'm going to say is drawing. Actually, and so we're going to say is false. So then we say brush color as well here. And I don't know why I clicked on Control B, but I did. So brush color, brush color value. Now, and then brush size is going to be, we're going to actually get the reference to the widget. So I'm just going to go through and, or rather not the widget, but rather the brush size property. So we're just going to go through and get that brush size property. I'm going to do Control C instead of right clicking and pasting. I'm just going to say this. I'm just going to do this. Copy this. And then we're going to say that, and we're going to say that, and we're going to clean that up. Okay, so and then what we're just going to do is copy this, and we're just going to set the value to whatever is defaulting to the property there. So set brush size property dot get underscore value. Okay, so then what we need to do is brush color, and this one what we're going to do is actually just going to be like we're going to just default it. So I'm going to do 0, 0, 0, comma 1.0, and I'm going to then put the dot 0 here and the dot 0 here because I'm a little bit lazy and I was thinking it was going to be faster to do it this way, but it doesn't feel like it is. Okay, so we have then the parts of there. So I'm going to kind of separate that out a little bit. So is drawing, brush color value, and brush size value. Okay, and so these methods are going to go through and effectively kind of set the states of our effectively like process here. So, and not the draw type. So there's also, yeah, is drawing. We need to do the draw type as well, and I forgot about that. That's a good point. So Control C. We're going to say no. Please let me do that? Okay. So we're going to say get rid of this, make that lowercase, draw type. Excuse me. And then we're going to say for this, we're going to default it to line. And so what I'm going to do here is effectively, we're going to go through and set the line. So when we do set draw type here, what we need to do is like so. So when we do draw type and then we're going to do widget here, we're going to get the text of the buttons that have been clicked and we're going to just set it as that. So it's not, again, it's a quasi state machine, I guess. It's not, you know, we're just going to get label here because this is a button and parentheses for that. So we're going to set the draw type. We're going to set that. We're going to also, by the way, just display a message saying that, hey, we set the draw type to whatever it is that we set it to. So we're going to do just that as well. So we'll do self dot that, do self dot success as the color type, comma the text, which is going to be set draw. I'm going to say set drawing to, please do capital D, thank you very much, plus, and then self.draw type. And that's also lowercase, not capital. That's making me a little annoyed that my shift is not working properly. I really probably need to get a new keyboard at this point, if that's the case. Okay. So we do the draw type, which is going to be line. We have a flag that's saying is drawing and all that, and we're gonna get into that a little bit later. But we're gonna preliminarily set that up, and then we also did brush size and all that. Okay, so then brush size value here, we're gonna just do this, and what we can do is literally just what we did up top on the code up there, where we literally just say self.brush size property get value, right? So that's good. So we're gonna get rid of that. We're gonna get rid of this. Now what we need to do is on the color value. And so what we're gonna do is effectively just do this. We're gonna do RGBA equals dot get underscore value parentheses, and then literally all we have to do is get rid of the pass because that's annoying. And so what we're going to do is like so, where I get rid of these, and so we're going to be control V RGBA dot red. Okay, RGBA dot green. And did I get 3? Yeah, I did get 3. RGBA dot blue, comma, and then RGBA dot ALPHA alpha. Okay, so we're setting the draw state. We're going to set the or the draw type. We're setting the, and really I guess I should say state. Let's just call it draw state. Honestly, make it clearer what we're doing here. And please let me capitalize. Why are you broken? Please. So we're going to just set that to the draw state instead, just because I feel a little more comfortable with that than saying draw type. Even though it is a type of drawing thing. I don't know. It's just, it is what it is. Okay, so basically what we've done here is we've set up a flag that's going to say is drawing. We're setting up the draw states. So basically what we're doing is we're setting the text of the button to that to that variable, and then we're setting up the color and the brush size as well. Okay. So not a whole lot's really changed here just right now. If we were to go through and just kind of like double check this here, I'm going to open this up here. Please let me expand it. And I'm going to control C, and then we're just going to do Python tab to complete /draw, and I'm just going to go ahead and run it. And so really we don't have anything going on right now. We can click on color. We set the drawing to circle. We can do line. We can click off of that or whatever. Click off of that. We can do whatever, and it's going to give us the information here. We can increment up and down the value, and even though it doesn't look like it, we can set, of course, the color and all that as well. Okay. Now value.getValue, widget.getValue, color object has no attribute getValue. Good to know. Okay. I'm drawing a blank on what the command is, so let me go ahead and double check that here. What the actual command is. I thought it was getValue. Oh, I'm so silly. get RGBA. That's embarrassing. There you go. Okay. So that's going to go through and set up, you know, all our just generic stuff here. Okay. Now what we're going to do is quickly set up some other logic that's kind of actually necessary. So first off, let's go ahead and finalize our imports. I'm going to go ahead and double check that we have everything here. So we've got that, we've got that, we've got that. We're going to need, we still have glib. What we're going to need here is we're going to need GDB, and I'm going to set this as GDB, okay? And then, let's see here, threading time, subprocess titles, okay, there's nothing much left for that, okay, cool. And then GTK, we'll move, by the way, Python imports, really, technically, it's more appropriate to do it like so, and then you can do application imports. That's a standards thing that I should be following more, but whatever. Anyway, okay. So now what we need to do is I'm going to go ahead and actually do a quick thing where we can set up class, and then mouse button, and that's not button but button. I'm going to double check that I'm doing what I want to do. Good. That's good. Okay. So we're going to set up also, by the way, an object called mouse button. And we want to basically have a reference to the kind of button that we clicked. And so we're kind of just setting up a generic object that's going to reference the type of the value. So we're going to compare an event button value to one of these mouse button object values, and the reason just being that it's cleaner, it looks good, and even though I pretty much have been doing all the wrong things for everything else here. So that's going to be 1 for the left. So left button is 1, right button is 3, middle button is 2. So nope. Middle button equals 2. And so we can use then, like so. So we can use then these as a bit of a reference when we do certain click events and stuff like that. Okay. So we've got the imports, we've got our thread, we've got our mouse button class. Let's see what else do we need for this to be good and happy here. So I don't know if I want to talk about those today or not. I mean, yeah, let's just do that. So what we're going to do is go ahead and quickly at least set up two of the methods that we're going to call with the draw widget. Okay, so the draw widget, we're going to do a mouse button press event and a button release event. So I'm going to literally just copy what I kind of did for my practice run through for this. I'm going to say on button press on button press, Control C to copy that. We're going to set up the event for that as well. And you'll see that I'm kind of going through and pushing all of these further down. The biggest reason being that these aren't nearly as important as they are structural. I mean, they're important because they set up structure and stuff like that. But for reference and all that, we're not probably going to interact with these more than what we've done so far today. So that's why I'm kind of pushing them all down to to the bottom here. RELEASE on button release, and we're going to go through and of course set up the event for that. Okay, and we're just going to go ahead and then do a little bit of stuff here for this. So the thing that we want to kind of do is when we, for a lot of the drawing types and all that, it's useful to get the start and endpoint positions of the mouse. So whether or not you're holding down and drawing, or whether or not you just like click and then click again, we kind of need to go through and get like an A/B position, or it's useful to get an A/B position. I guess we don't need to, but it's useful. So what we're going to do is actually create an A/B chords reference as well here. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to take this, and then we're going to do, I'm going to say ABCOORDS, and then push that there. I'm literally also just going to kind of wrap these two values like so, pretty much. Honestly, it's like actually pretty great that I thought about this. I didn't think about this before, but it's great. So, we want to be able to go through and set up A to B coordinates, okay? And so we're going to have that as a reference here. And so on button press, we're going to do just that. We're going to say AB coordinates, and then we're going to say, is equal to, and then we're going to do EVE.x, EVE.y, okay? Now, we actually also need to set up on what level that should be going to, so we're going to just set up to that to be 0. The on button release, we need to set that to button 1, okay, or position 1 for the slots, okay. Then also on button press, we want to say the is drawing. We want to make that true, because if we're on button pressing it, we're holding it down, right? And so so on button press is drawing, and then from there is equal to true. And we're going to take, obviously, the opposite of this, or the inverse of this, which is false, and put that into the release to be false. And I also want to double check, did I set that to true or false at the top here? Good, okay, I did set that to false. I'm a little paranoid here, is that I did something wrong. So we can do it this way, but we can also go through and we want to probably filter against the clicks as well. So what we need to do then to filter against the clicks, we're only probably going to want to go through and do on button press on the left and the right click. So what we're going to do is then say if, and then we're just going to say, and honestly, I'm going to have to go through and reference my code. I don't remember. It's something like event.gdk.eventType or something like that. Let me scroll down here. ¿Dónde está, por favor? Okay, well, one of them is kind of close. Cool, sweet. So if event.type, okay, and that's not right. Actually, it is right. It is lowercase, type, and we are equal to then gdk.eventtype button press. Okay, button underscore press, and we'll literally probably just I'm gonna honestly kind of copy this. I don't want to have to type it out because I'm lazy. We'll just do that, and then we say what kind of button we want to watch for. So if event.button button equals, then what we'll say is actually just mouse button dot left mouse button, and we can copy this and as well, and then do like so, and we'll set this also to be right button. Okay, and then we can copy this probably, and then we're going to move these up, and we're good there. Okay, so basically we're now setting up the on button press and on button release, and so we are going through and we have effectively the kind of like the quasi-preliminary setup for drawing, right? There's actually two more signals that we're going to integrate from the draw widget. One of them is literally called draw. If I go ahead and pull that up here, so the draw event effectively goes through and I'm gonna say take this with a grain of salt, because I literally could be misunderstanding this. My understanding is that the draw continuously fires and will overwrite anything that's happening. What I mean is like it will just continuously refresh the drawing, right? So like whatever's being drawn to the widget, it will effectively just continuously draw to that widget. But the problem is that it's not whatever's that's being drawn. It's just drawing whatever's in like the buffer. Yeah, I know this is not going overly well with my description. Basically, this continuously fires and will fill the widget with whatever is in its buffer, if anything. So if there's nothing in the buffer, it will clear your widget information. If there is something in the buffer, effectively, it will then fill that widget with whatever's in the buffer. Okay, that's pretty much, I guess, what's going on. That's to my best knowledge. Okay. So then, so what we want to kind of do then is we're going to set up an actual draw event for this, and so I'm just going to say on draw. We're just going to say that, okay, and then we're going to go through and do just that. We're going to move this actually up closer to the top because this is more to the core of the program than what we would be doing otherwise. So I'm going to move that closer to the top of the beginning or whatever. And so we're going to call this, by the way, area, and we're going to call this the brush. Now, I want to say something about this though. So the area is effectively your widget, your actual draw area widget. The brush is actually not strictly speaking. So brush is kind of not a good term technically, I guess, for what is actually going on. This is the context, actually, right? I call it a brush because for the sake of simplicity, what we're really touching is only the brush size, the stroke type, and some other stuff. But there's a lot more that's involved than strictly speaking a brush. And this is why it's called properly a context, because the context actually has information about the color palette. The context has information about the draw area effectively, and not specifically the draw area, but like the buffer of the draw area, or at least a buffer that is used to draw to the area. It has a lot more information in when you're referring to it as a context. I'm calling it a brush because for what we're doing and for the sake of simplicity, we're really only ever doing kind of brush-like things. Okay, so it's semantically incorrect, but for understanding what's kind of going on, it's just useful to describe it as a brush right now. So, and also, by the way, there's actually, I believe, brush objects now for the more current way to do things. Anyway, so it's take this with the trying to learn what it is kind of thing than necessarily what exactly it is, if you get my drift. Anyway. Okay, so we're going to set up the draw area, but we also kind of want to set up a on motion event as well. So we're going to literally call it, let's see if I can find it here. I can reference my other Glade. I'm going to literally reference my other Glade file to see if I can find it. So motion notify event. I'm going to copy that. Motion notify. Motion notify event. Aha. So on motion notify event. So basically, I think we've pretty much set up all the necessary signals for this that we're going to be using. We could probably close out the Glade file. So I'm going to go ahead and then do... Oh, wait, no, we've not. I'm sorry. Let me take that back. We've got one other thing that we need to. So on motion is also going to be effectively the area in the brush as well. So I'm going to just take that and copy it as well. So what happens is, or what I'm thinking of, the way that we're going to use this example or create this example is that when we do on button press, we set the state to be drawing. When we do on draw events, if the state is to be drawing, or well, actually, I guess that's not correct. If the state is to be drawing in motion, right? If it's true that we're drawing, then during the motion, we're going to be firing an event effectively. Well, not really. We're not firing an event. We're going to be calling a method, a particular type of method. And the method will be what kind of drawing that we're doing. So in this instance, we, circle, square, line, or erasing. Okay, so the motion event is where kind of like the core of the logic is going to be, whereas the on draw aspect of it is where it's just kind of going to be taking the buffer, the double buffer that we're going to be using to then just draw, right? So we're not going to talk about that just right now. We're going to just get these preliminary signals set up, okay? So for the motion, we're going to kind of go through and quickly set up, I guess, the motion method here, or at least maybe get a portion of it here. So, but then I'm looking at my example and it's like, oh, wait, I do not remember all of this. And it's like, okay, I don't want to make it too confusing, but I do want to get maybe a little bit further than what we've gone through. I don't know. Let's see how it goes. Let's double check and see if we actually have things running or if I failed something utterly and completely. We did fail something. Let's see here. Introspection typelib not found. Okay. My import is incorrect. What did I What did I import properly? Oh, no. Yes, okay. GDK. That's what I wanted. Oops. Not GDB. Okay. So now, in theory, it should run. Yes. Okay. So, yeah, we're going to go through and end it at this point, ladies and gentlemen, because there's going to be a lot more. And really, we're now going to be getting into the meat of actually the GtkDrawingArea, or at least the interface, or not the interface, the API that really interacts with the draw area. The next episode is really going to be getting into the meat of that. And so it's going to be a little bit more brain teasery, whereas this is more setup. So it is what it is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, thank you very much for watching. Please rate, subscribe, tell me what you think, and I will talk to you all later.